All right. This wasn't initially planned as a live stream, but I was able to register and get access to the call. So we're going to talk a little bit and we're going to listen in on the call together. So let's see where they are. They started about 5 minutes ago, and we are on our second speaker. Here we go.
Julie, hi everybody. I am actually not even in Michigan. I'm in Pennsylvania today for the Harris campaign. I was in New Hampshire at the end of last week, and we have seen record crowds at all of our events. I just got done with Josh Shapiro here in Philadelphia. We were expecting 200 people. We had 1,300. People are fired up. But we also know that in critical swing states like Josh's and mine and Wisconsin and a handful of others, this is a dead heat. So
it's Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan speaking.
A joyful group of happy warriors that got to continue to do this work together. So I hope that tonight you will say, what can I do every day for the next 99 days to help us make sure that we elect President Kamala Harris. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Let's roll up our sleeves and keep doing the work. And on November 6th and January 20th of next year, we'll be calling her Madam President.
All right, so that was the first speaker from the call tonight. That was Governor Gretchen Whitmer. If you are just joining us, thank you. I was able to actually get access to the call. Thank you, Ms. Linda, for showing up. I am live streaming the audio for the call tonight for anybody who maybe didn't get a chance to
so great to see our co-chairs just
get a link.
Out on the road, on the trail. So thank you so much, Governor. But look, I've known the Vice President for a long time and had the pleasure of working with her when she was Senator of California, and she is the right person for the job. She has the experience. She has the ability to be able to lead our country into the future. What we've seen from her time as district attorney, as Attorney General of California, and then passing historic legislation, with President Biden, they were able to accomplish in 2 years what most administrations aren't able to accomplish in 4. And she was the tiebreaker for 33 pieces of legislation in the Senate. So, when you look at her record, it is incredible. We are so excited to also see the enthusiasm. But as the governor mentioned, we know this election is going to be close, and that's what this evening's all about. It's really to be able to bring, folks together, women together across this country to do the work that we know we need to do. And I love how you kick this off this evening by getting everyone to pick up their phones and to think about, what they could do to be part of our Team 47.
Absolutely. And so
So throughout the night, they're going to have different speakers come up. Right now, currently, they have the two assistant campaign chairs discussing the fact that they've had a lot of surrogates out on the road. Governor Whitmer and Governor Shapiro of Michigan and Pennsylvania, respectively, have been out on the road today specifically. And so we are actually listening in live. I was able to actually go online and register for the call. And so we'll be listening to some of the audio from the Women for Harris call. And hopefully we'll get a readout on how many people were able to actually attend from the host.
To win this November. And it's going to take all of us doing the hard work. And it's also going to take all of the women out there getting involved, getting engaged, but also getting out to vote.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that, Julie. At this moment, we are going to go to something very special. We're going to go over to the incomparable, to the amazing, to the trailblazing Gloria Steinem. Over to you, Gloria.
All right, so this is our second speaker of the evening, Gloria Steinem. First up was Gretchen Whitmer.
Thank you for that incredible introduction. I'll do my best to live up to it. But in fact, I know that the leadership of Kamala Harris is going to allow us women, the female half of the population, for the first time to earn and show that we deserve all of those adjectives. And I'm here with a room full of a bunch of rowdy friends, very rowdy friends. And I do invite all your rowdy friends to your living room. and have a party and support Kamala. Right. Absolutely. And I'm Carol Jenkins, one of Gloria's more rowdy friends. Although this assemblage has proven itself worthy of Kamala Harris, let me say. We are so excited. This is a tremendous night for us to be here. And we are so lucky, and Kamala is so lucky that it is in Gloria's living room, which has sprung a movement, which has sprung thousands of feminists and leaders and hundreds of organizations, and a lot of fun. So we are hoping that that is what this campaign is going to be like. We've got 99 days. We already know that some of you already have house parties like we're having here tonight. Thank you for letting us know that. That's fabulous. If you haven't done that already, you can text women to 30330 pound. The word women to 30330 pound. And I'm sure you'll hear it later during the broadcast as well. And I want to repeat too that hang in there, because Chelsea Clinton has agreed to join the event tonight, so you have that to look forward to. And I want to say now why I support Ms. Harris for President of the United States, and it's for two things. The Equal Rights Amendment, which I worked on with Gloria for a full 10 years, and we've done it longer than that. We need to amend the Constitution because bodily autonomy would not be an issue if we had the Equal Rights Amendment in the Constitution. And the other thing that she is so tremendous about, my other love, is ending child poverty. And in every speech and in the spot that we just heard, she says, I see a future where there is no child poverty. And that's why my support goes to Kamala Harris. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to one of my more sedate friends. Thank you so much, Kathy and Jimmy, who is, I describe her as wickedly funny, but very serious about her activism. Couldn't get more serious. Kathy.
Absolutely what she said. I am Kathy and Jimmy. Thank you, Carol, one of the smartest people I know. It's always, I've been able to be blessed to be in this living room for many, 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 many years, and it's always, always magic. I have a great feeling about what we're about to accomplish. I'd like to advocate for a president who is smart and sane and compassionate and is a humanitarian and cares about the entire world, including all of the women, which are more than half of the United States are women. Kamala Harris. Not only for president of these United States, but for queen of the world. Please, 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 please vote.
Queen Kamala. And now I'm throwing it to Nikki.
Hi everyone. I'm Nikki Evan James, and I have the distinct pleasure of playing Ida B. Wells 8 times a week on Broadway in a musical called Sucks, which portrays the passing of the 19th Amendment, where us women got the right to vote.
That's right. I'm up for that.
Yeah. Ida was a crusader. Ida was a fighter. Ida is now part of me, and I'm so, so proud to be portraying her during this really historic moment. And I just want to share a quick anecdote with you all. When President Biden announced that he was no longer going to be seeking re-election for the presidency, and then later endorsed the incredible Vice President Kamala Harris, we were performing at 3 p.m. matinee on that Sunday. And as the curtain rose on stage at the Music Box Theater for a show about women making change, changing the world, our audience started chanting completely organically, Kamala, 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 Kamala. And we were deeply moved. It was an inspiring moment. The tides are changing. People are out there. We want change. We want Kamala. Please get out there and vote. And if you ever have a question or a doubt, you can just remember this shirt and think, what would Ida do? And she would vote Kamala. And I'm going to share you all with my friend, Mona Sinha.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am Mona Sinha. I'm a South Asian immigrant who has fought for women and girls for over 30 years, and I'm so delighted to be with you all today in Gloria's living room. Because, my friends, today we stand at a pivotal moment in our lives. In these fractious times, where just the forces of division seek to tear us apart, our shared support of Vice President Harris this past week shows that we have great strength not only in our diversity, but in our shared objective of really mending these cracks in our society with equality and with great acceptance. And Vice President Harris is the leader who's going to write this next chapter in history. It's a chapter filled with stories of unity, hope, and opportunity, where every woman and girl can dream big and achieve even bigger. Woo! It's a rare moment for us when we feel Lady Liberty stuck upon our shoulders. So let's light that torch for a new era of justice and equality for all. And I hand that torch over to my friend, Rebecca Coffey.
Amen. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Rebecca Copley, and I'm here as a disabled woman, a disabled mama, a disabled daughter, and a disabled activist. I'm here to support Kamala Harris as a member of the disability community. People are policy. It matters who's at the table, and disabled voters matter. Because millions of disabled Americans are forced every day to choose a life of poverty based on irrelevant diagnoses and policies that were passed 80 years ago by a bunch of men. Because disabled people shouldn't be forced to choose between marriage and access to health care. And because while my parents advocated so hard for the Americans with Disabilities Act 34 years ago, just turned 34 this week, it's middle age, we're hoping it gets over the hump. We need a president to make sure that it's enforced and it's still here 34 years from now, for not just my children, but for my grandchildren. And with that, I am thrilled to pass it on to my dear friend.
Thank you, Gloria and friends, for your advocacy for Indian country. Good evening. My name is Janie Parrish. Yate to my relatives out there. I'm originally from the Navajo Nation, Arizona, Winter Rock and Kenta communities. I come with me with my mother and my ancestors. It's so important that we get out and vote this year. I was called home in 2020 myself by my elders to help organize in our home communities, tribal and rural communities. And it was the best decision I ever made. We showed up and showed out. Our teams did an incredible job. Native voters across Arizona, 22 tribes, voted Democrats up and down the ticket, and of course voted in President Biden and Vice President Harris. It was a no-brainer because these folks, as well as Kamala, will continue on the tradition of advocating for our 570 plus tribal nations. And so we are ready again. Indian country is excited, and we will elect Kamala Harris again. Just one last bit that I want everybody to know that we are incredibly important voters. This year is the 100-year anniversary that we only became citizens in our own country. In 1924 is when they passed that act. And so we not only have that, but in Arizona, we started just really granted the right to vote in 1948. So we're fairly young, and it wasn't until 1965 and many others we actually had the right to vote in our own homelands. So this is very critical for us. We know what's at stake. We know as tribal nations how it's important to have policies that really impact our communities. So I'm just calling upon all of my aunties, my nieces, my grandmas, everybody out there to please step up once again. Every vote matters. Please register everyone, and get them to the polls. So thank you so much. And I'm going to throw it now on over to our generation today that's going to carry us forward, Olivia and Pema.
These are the last two speakers of Gloria Steinem's guests.
Whose rights and future have been
We're listening in on the
men
Women
in
for Harris call.
So far, we have to wait years to vote, but our country's future will be decided in less than 100 days. This year, our voices don't come with the vote. So we beg everyone who can hear this to fight for the people who want to vote, but can't. The health of our planet depends on you. Our right to an abortion depends on you. Our democracy depends on you. We have to get this right. And that means electing Kamala Harris president. We are trusting you with our futures. Please do not let us down. Now I'm throwing it back to Gloria Steinem.
I'm so proud to have all of this on tonight. It just shows you the talent of the female half of this country that so far has been denied to the White House. So we are going to fix that, right? We are going to make this into a democracy in which the female half of the population of all races and all classes are part of our pool of talent. We are no longer denying half the country. We have done it in the past by, failing to elect lots of people, Shirley Chisholm, Hillary Clinton, all kinds of folks, right? And that ends today. It's the best person, and we know who that is.
Let's go, Kamala.
Well, thank you so much for that.
So that ends the Gloria Steinem portion of
to elect
the
Kamala Harris.
call. She's going to get ready to introduce. This is the campaign manager here who's speaking. So if you're just joining us, thank you. I was able to get a spot and register for this live, like as I tried last week. So we're listening in on the Women for Harris National Organizing Call. Fair use is permitted of any copyrighted material for educational or entertainment purposes.
Shannon Watts, founder of Moms Demand Action, and Julie Zebra, founder of Mamas for Kamala. These four women got off the sidelines and started fighting for what they believe in, transforming energy into action by building national organizations that harness the power of women. Joteka, we're going to start with you, then straight over to Shannon, then Glenda, and then over to Julie. So over to you, ladies.
Well, hello, and what an exciting night. Well, 4 years ago, I was in the midst, like all of you, of a global pandemic. I was spending time with my parents in rural South Carolina, in my little small town of 1,400 people on the dirt road that I grew up on. And that day, myself, along with many of my fellow Black women leaders, came together out of our collective concern and outrage to the narrative as it related to the conversation of who would be the next vice president of the United States. And like so many Black women that had came before me who has been organizing for years, we were propelled to act out of the spirit of leaders like a Mignon Moore, a Donna Brazile, a Bishop Leah Daughtry, Yolanda Caraway, the Melody Campbells of the world, who were taught by the Dr. Dorothy Irene Heights, the Cicely Tysons, the C. Dolores Tuckers, and the Fannie Lou Hamers, and the Rosa Parks, and so many others. I could call all of their names. But we came together to speak out against what we knew was wrong. And it would be a full circle moment that 4 years later, after organizing and meeting on most Sunday nights, that the moment would come that our Sunday night calls would shift to a momentous moment where we would come together in our collective unity to stand in solidarity and enjoy to say that we are in full support of Kamala Harris becoming the next president of the United States. What I know and what we all know is that it is so important, not only because of the history that she will make, not only because of the fact that representation actually matters, but also she is the best candidate for the position. I have known Kamala Harris for many, many years, actually dating back to 2009 during my time at the NAACP when I was the senior advisor to the president. I'll never forget, and I've often shared this story, of her being a district attorney, doing everything she could to come to a meeting with a major retailer to ensure that they heard the importance of criminal justice reform. That's the Kamala Harris that I know, and throughout the years, whether she's been district attorney, attorney general, United States senator, or the vice president of the United States, she has always stood for the people, much like Shirley Chisholm often talks about as an inspiration. In this moment, I know that, yes, Black women, we are so on fire, and we have been so engaged through the Win with Black Women Network. But what what we know is that united is how we will win. And we're so proud and so honored to see all of the action and movement that has happened this week by everybody who knows that they belong at the table. The late, great Shirley Chisholm, my soror, said, if they don't let you at the table, then you should bring a folding chair. And what I feel now is that women everywhere, we are building a new table, and we're making sure that there is a seat for everyone at the table. And that is the unity that Kamala Harris is bringing to this country. That is the unity that will help us win and drive out the divisiveness that Donald Trump is trying to bring to this country. The unification around Kamala Harris is the light that we need. It will drive out darkness, and most importantly, it will take America in the direction that we know that it belongs. And that is forward, forward, forward. Thank you so much. And I pass it over to my sister, Shannon Watts.
Joteka, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be introduced by you, in large part because you have been my inspiration over the last week. Just a few hours after President Biden endorsed Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States, I watched Joteka and Win with Black Women instantly mobilize to uplift and support the vice president. Black women have always been at the vanguard of activism, social justice, and feminism in America. And Joteka's leadership that day made me wonder whether white women could and would honor and follow her lead. So 2 days later, I tweeted, it's time for white women to organize a conference call like Black women and men have held, who's in? And the response was overwhelming, to say the least. A Zoom gathering quickly came together for about 200,000 women who activated their privilege and their platforms and had a conversation about how the majority of white women in this country have historically voted against the needs of the most marginalized, including in the last two presidential elections. We also affirmed our commitment to finally step up, to organize, and to help save democracy. We raised over I don't want to get this wrong. We raised over $11 million for Kamala Harris's campaign. And we committed to join the broader coalition. This coalition gathered here tonight to help elect the first woman, the first Black woman, the first AAPI woman as president. So to be clear, the Zoom we organized wasn't successful because of our organizing. It was successful because of the energy, the excitement, the hope that Kamala Harris commands. She has the experience and the skill and the compassion and the courage we need. And as Joteka said, it will be women united who help get her over the finish line. I know that because I spent the last decade organizing millions of women all across the country as the founder of Moms Demand Action. I know firsthand the impact we have when we unite to use our economic and our political power for good. Women are the secret sauce of organizing and forcing change. We find strength in the community of other women. When we work together for a common cause, we are remarkably resilient and adaptable in the face of challenge. Basically, we show up and we get shit done. It will not be easy. When women unify like we are tonight on this call, it represents a massive threat to the patriarchs and the autocrats who want to reverse our progress. They will try to silence our voices and our votes. They will flood this campaign with vile racism, misogyny, and hate to try and divide us. But if we stay vigilant, if we band together like we are right now, they will not only fail to divide us, they will actually strengthen us. Every single one of you on this call tonight is an organizer. You are a leader. You are an influencer. And you can step into that power just by simply deciding to do something. Anything. So tonight, write down 3 things that you are willing to do in the next 99 days. Host a house party, organize a phone bank, plan a fundraiser, put a weekend on your calendar where you and 5 friends knock doors in a battleground state. We have 99 days to help save the world. When we look back, whether it's in 100 days or 50 years, let's remember this gathering as the one that brought us all together so that together we could change history. If the hundreds of thousands of women on this call tonight commit to doing the work every day for 99 days, we will win in a landslide.
Shannon Watts, Moms Demand Action. Next speaker is...
Over to you, Glinda. Thank you. I appreciate all of the work
that went in tonight. To my colleagues, Shannon, Joteka, and Julie, it is about this moment. Over 12 years ago, I sat in a Brooklyn cafe with Kimberly Pillar Allen, and we developed a pathway for a moment as this. Higher Heights is the political home for Black women, a place for Black women to be informed, engaged, and to take action. And over 12 years ago, we started to dream of the possibilities that exist for women's leadership. And what we found stepping into 2024 is that when you fire up a Black woman, she doesn't go to the polls alone. She brings her house, her block, her church, her sorority, and her union. What makes this call uniquely important tonight is that we are stronger together, that women of all walks of life have come together tonight to flex our political power and make a little history in the meantime, in the moment. That being said, what do we need to do? We need to take 5 people to the polls, and that's the work of Higher Heights. We're going to engage our network of 250,000 Black women this cycle to text their neighbors, organize their neighbors, open up their homes, because we believe that Kamala Harris is the leadership for this moment. Maya Angelou once said, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris's multiple identities are her superpower in this moment. And so we each see a little bit of ourselves in Vice President Kamala Harris. She stands in a moment where she will be able to use not only her lived experiences, but her qualifications to move this country to higher heights. So ladies, on this call, we have to believe not only the possibilities of women's leadership in this moment, but our ability to organize a community of upswells so that we can bring everybody to the polls. Last April, I had the opportunity to go to Ghana with the Vice President, her first trip to the continent, showing that she is primed and ready to continue to lead on a global stage. That day, we said, "We will follow you anywhere, Vice President." And what she said, and I think rings true tonight, that we are on this journey with her together. Sisters from all walks of life have energized from the call that Win with Black Women did last week to this call. We are calling our sisters to come together this evening. And we know that our strength to include our voices in this moment, Black women want what our neighbors want. We want economically thriving, educated, healthy, and safe communities. And with the right leadership, from the White House to our city halls across this country, we have an opportunity to elect Black women and women that share our values. So tonight, we continue to celebrate this historic moment, and tomorrow we'll continue to organize, mobilize, and fight to be able to bring this country to higher heights. Thank you for letting me have 2 seconds of your time tonight to talk about how we are going to break that glass ceiling this November, and more importantly, ensure that we are governing on day one, and that is Kamala Harris ready to lead day one as a president of this United States.
Over to you, Julie. Thank you so much. Thanks, Glenda. Thanks, Rhonda. Thank you. It's so good to see you, women from Harris. My name is Julie Zebrack. I'm so excited to see you today. I'm what you would call one of the OGs for Kamala Harris. I've been working to support her since her days in the Senate. When the VP ran for president, my partner in crime, Courtney Phillips, and I launched Mamas for Kamala, a national group of mamas, stepmamas, aunties, grandmas, parents, caregivers, real mamas for Kamala. We help moms, whether they have young kids or high schoolers, work on the campaign. We also help Joe with Joe Mamas. We know moms are seasoned multitaskers, and we get, as Shannon mentioned, we get shit done, especially if we think it's going to benefit our kids. We are connectors and influencers in our schools, our churches, our synagogues, our communities. We know how to spontaneously spark conversations and bond with perfect strangers on the playground, at the grocery store, and on the soccer field. We have the ability to serve as candid, credible, and persuasive ambassadors for the issues that we care about when we speak to other parents. Moms instinctively trust other moms for all kinds of advice. But we know we only have small windows of time to help. call. And that's why Mamas for Kamala works to meet moms where you are, whether that's at home phone banking, or texting, convening friends and their kids for Mamas for Kamala Playdate, setting up a lemonade stand fundraiser, or simply stopping by a field office to drop off water and snacks. Any talent you can offer, talking, texting, posting, shopping, walking, canvassing, donating, driving, all of that's needed to win a campaign, and all of that counts as helping to elect the first woman president. And those are things you can do with your kids, with your teens, while your babies are napping, and that's why we want to pull you in and get you involved. As everyone knows on this call, the Vice President Kamala Harris has our backs. Whether it comes to reproductive rights, protecting our access to birth control and IVF, maternal mortality, maternal mental health, or simply protecting the middle class, Kamala Harris has our backs. Unlike the GOP's plans under Project 2025 to eliminate the entire Department of Education, the Vice President wants us to help raise healthy families, provide for clean water and air, and pay public schools teachers a fair wage. Kamala has our back, and that's why we're delighted to have hers. Join us to help elect the first woman president and Kamala Harris. Follow us at Mamas4, the number 4, Kamala on our social media. And please bring your kids along. This is an historic moment, and we should all encourage ourselves and our neighbors to be a part of it. She is who we need in the White House, and I am she is who we need now to lead the White House. I am grateful to President Biden for giving her this chance, and I hope you will join me along the way. Thanks so much, and back to you, Rhonda.
So that ends that portion of the panel. So those were the activists and organizers that will be tasked with all of the what we call GOTV, get out the vote. So the assistant campaign manager is actually getting ready to introduce the next panel. Fair use for all information being shared for educational or entertainment purposes.
Text 3 or women to 30330 or scan that QR code and give 47 for 47. Thank you, ladies, for being our partners. Thank you for organizing and harnessing our momentum. Now, I told you this is going to be a long program. It is. So get your popcorn ready, like Julie said. But we've got some great speakers lined up that want to talk to you all tonight, to talk with you. Right now, we're in for a great treat. We are going to hear from one of the women, of the many women, behind the woman, my dear friend, Erin Wilson, who works very closely with the Vice President. Erin, take it away.
Oh my goodness. Hello, Rhonda, and good evening to all of my friends that are on this line. I am here tonight in my personal capacity, and during the day I wear my hat as Deputy Chief of Staff to the Vice President, and I have to say, it's really incredible to see all of these faces on the screen at the exact same time. Every single woman on the screen is someone that has answered the call in many different ways that we have asked over the course of this administration, and is now helping us to run through the tape as we head towards November. So this is just a truly remarkable group of women. I thank you all for the work that you're doing, and I thank all of the women that are joining us from all over the country. I have to say, like, being able to share the organic enthusiasm that is happening through this incredible work and networks that we've started through Win with Black Women and that we've seen grow over these weeks. It's only been 8 days that we have seen happen, has just been truly, truly remarkable. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the Kamala Harris that I know, who I travel with, who I have gotten the experience or the opportunity to see both in states across the country as well as abroad. But I want to tell you a little bit about Kamala Harris that you may not hear as much about, that I think it's important to remind folks of, particularly when we think about what's at stake this election. And so we all know, everyone on this call knows that Kamala Harris is a proven leader that's been battle tested and ready to take on the White House on day one. But what we want to make sure that when we're telling people the story about Kamala Harris, that we remind folks that she has been the first among many in her field for the entirety of her career.
And before she was elected vice president, before she was elected United States Senator, before she was elected Attorney General of the state of California, she was a courtroom prosecutor. And as a courtroom prosecutor, she took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules. And make no mistake about it, she knows who she is going up against with Donald Trump. And I'd put her record against his any day of the week. And some of the things that we want to remind folks of is that as Attorney General, she took on one of the country's largest for-profit colleges that were scamming students. What did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students. As a prosecutor, she specialized in cases involving sexual abuse. Donald Trump found liable for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General of California, she took on the big Wall Street banks and held them accountable for fraud. Donald Trump just found guilty of fraud on 34 counts. And while those things are important, I also want to spend a little bit of time saying this campaign is obviously not just about us versus Donald Trump. It's not just about getting in front of what we see as being a huge attack on our democracy through Project 2025. But this campaign is also equal parts about who we are fighting for. And we know that the vice president is fighting for a future that strengthens our democracy, protects reproductive freedoms, and ensures that every person in the country is not just getting by, but getting ahead. And so we need to think about what kind of country do we want to live in. And in this election, we choose a country of freedom. Freedom to make decisions about your own body, freedom to live free from gun violence, and freedom to have a better future. If any of you have seen the vice president on the road, you'll see she often talks about freedom to not just survive, but to thrive. And sometimes she'll say freedom to live your best life. And that's what the vice president's campaign is all about. And this isn't new territory for the vice president. She has been a fighter her entire career. I love seeing the OGs come on to talk about some of their experiences and with us in this path or on this path along this way, because we've been fighting this fight for a long time. You know, I've had the privilege of traveling with the vice president all across the country in her freedom and her Fight for Our Freedoms college tour, her reproductive freedoms tour, and her economic opportunity tour. And in each of those travels, we were greeted by hundreds, thousands of guests who were all enthusiastic to hear, support, and drive our vision for America. We believe in the promise of America, and we are ready to fight for it. We know that Kamala Harris is the right choice. And my call to action, and I'm going to let my dear colleague Rhonda remind us on some of the various ways that we connect. But what I want everyone to think about every day is, what is the one thing you have done in these 99 days to help get us where we need to be in November? And every day you all have your own agency for what you have the space to do. We are all living our lives and we all have considerable obligations. But every day, is it one person you've asked to register to vote? Is it one person you've told to check their voter registration? Is it a positive story that you've shared on your social media platforms? Is it doing an hour of call time? What is that one thing you're going to do every day to get us across the finish line? I think if we all answer that question, we're going to make history together. And so back over to my incredible colleague, Rhonda. It is a very hard act to follow you and that incredible panel we had. But I'm just here very excited to see who you're going to have come up next. This is an amazing group. Thank you for having me. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just texting women to 30.
All right. Thank you. If you are here live, I know that the call was difficult to get in. So I'm live streaming the audio for the Women for Harris National Organizing Call. The Deputy Campaign Manager is introducing the next panel of guests. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute because this is for entertainment and educational purposes only. So let's check in with the next speaker.
Hey, Soror, and hey, everybody.
Yvette Nicole
I was
Brown.
asked to speak to you all today about why I support the amazing Kamala Harris for president. Now, I can say it's because I'm a Black woman, or because I'm a 31-year strong member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, or even that I was accepted to the Mecca, Howard University, and regret not being able to attend. But all of that is just a list of the things I have in common with the amazing Kamala Harris. The reason I support her as our next president is because I have met her and interviewed her and spent an evening at a small gathering with her where we were free to ask her anything and she answered back freely. I know her to be smart, real, joyful, principled, tested, qualified, and if I might dip a toe into my Bible bag, positioned like Queen Esther to speak up and fight for us all because she was made for a time such as this. A time where we as a country are facing a criminal menace, hoping to use a seat behind the resolute desk as a way to escape his crimes. A time where a few rogue members of the Supreme Court have decided women and people of color and those who live or love in ways they don't like should lose their rights. A time where climate change, gun violence, healthcare breakdowns, pay disparities, and educational barriers like book banning and criminalizing teachers for teaching American history exist. Though those who are terrified of Kamala Harris becoming president would say that this is about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's not it. They are scared of her leading this country because they know that just like affirmative action, this is not about someone unqualified getting a chance. No, this is about knowing how qualified she is. Elected District Attorney of San Francisco, elected Attorney General of California, elected United States Senator, elected Vice President of the United States of America. I stress elected because nobody gave Kamala Harris a doggone thing except for us, the voters who believed in her and voted for her in every one of those elections that she won, giving her the chance to show again and again and again just how qualified she is to lead. Not because she's a woman, not because she's black, not because she's South Asian, not even because she's an AKA, but because she is an intelligent, degreed, elected, dynamic force of nature, determined to get into as much good trouble as she can for the good of us all. There are no sides in America. Only those with an agenda seek to divide. We have always been stronger together. Remember that. Now, the marching orders. Here's what I need each of you to do. As my Sora Rhonda has said a few times, please text the word women to 30330. That one move will get you on the list to receive all the information on how you can help in this movement. Number 2, fight against any mis or disinformation you see online. For every lie they tell about her record or her character, tell the truth. Kamala HQ has all the information you need. And 3, speak up about what you love about Kamala Harris and the good she and President Biden did for our country. The list is long. Find the one thing that you personally love and sing that song. Use your platform. And your platform is simply your sphere of influence. That can be a lot of followers on social media, but it can also be your local book club or PTA meeting. It can be the person next to you in the frozen food section or behind you in the line where you get your coffee. You have more ways to impact this election than you know. Use every opportunity to speak about what's at stake and why Kamala Harris is the right choice on November 5th. We can change the trajectory of this country in 99 days. We can do that. But it will take every single one of us to do it. Now, there are a lot of other amazing women that come this evening, my girls Ana Navarro and Aijen Poo, distinguished members of Congress like Senator LaFonza Butler, and then Chelsea Clinton will be closing us out by detailing the lessons learned after her mother's historic run. Please stay with us for all of it. I am beyond honored to have been asked to speak to all of you on behalf of the amazing Kamala Harris. I believe in her, and I believe in all of us. Together, we can ensure that this wonderful servant leader is the next president of the United States. Let's do that. Let's go! Back to you, Soraya.
Okay. I had to do it. So thank you to my soror. And also, it's important to note we are all sisters, each and every one of us. And I don't know about you, but I feel that this is absolutely a sister moment. And I'm encouraged, I'm motivated, and I'm fired up to get this done in the next 99 days. So speaking of getting things done, joining us now are 2 women leading organizations that uplift and advocate for working women and families. We're honored to be joined by our sisters in the movement, Liz Schuler, president of the AFL-CIO, and Aijen Poo, co-founder of Care in Action and my sister. Liz and Aijen, thank you for joining. Liz, let's start with you, and then over to Aijen.
All right. Thank you so much. Wow. What an incredible evening this has been. It's been such a joy to be here to see, all of this energy right now and activism. And I just wanted to say thank you. I'm grateful. I'm Liz Schuler. I'm president of the AFL-CIO, which is America's labor movement. It's 60 unions all coming together, representing 12.5 million workers across those unions. And this is not your granddaddy's labor movement. I'll just say, I know there's a lot of union women on the call tonight, including I see some of our actors and athletes and folks who, you wouldn't necessarily suspect to be union members. So this is a movement of, by, and for women. And in fact, the labor union movement is the largest organization of working women in the country. Nobody sees us that way, but we're 6 million strong. Teachers, tech workers, baristas, construction workers, writers, nurses, caregivers, you name it. The folks who actually make this country hum. And we're making sure, folks are out there, have good jobs, put food on the table, that we're not discriminated against when we go to work, that we have paths to good careers no matter what kind of job we have, equal pay, affordable, high-quality childcare, reproductive rights, because reproductive rights are an economic issue, and workers care about it. So across all of those issues, though, Vice President Kamala Harris has stood with us over and over again. And I was just watching that first ad that the campaign put out to that amazing Beyonce song, Freedom. And I think that is the word you're hearing tonight over and over again. Exactly what we need to be talking about. And of course, coming from the labor movement, I think about work. And work is where a lot of us spend the majority of our waking lives. And work should be a place where we have that freedom to do what we love, to move up, to feel safe and have dignity. And what we get instead is Black women making 66 cents on the dollar for the same job that a white man does. It's wrong. We have women in construction and trade jobs who are told by their bosses in the year 2024, oh, that's not a role for you, that's a man's job. I mean, we have people on the other side, not random people, but literal heads of the ticket who are saying women shouldn't be working outside the home. They should stay in abusive marriages, according to J.D. Vance, who calls women of color DEI hires, as we heard earlier. I mean, this is a choice between 2025 and 1925. And as was said, the simple way we fight back is by standing strong together. And you'll hear IJED talk about it. Everyone on this call knows, or you wouldn't be here, that standing together is how we fight back. And it's what Kamala Harris knows, because she has lived it, and every part of her record proves it. The last thing I'll say is that I've been on a lot of picket lines lately. You've seen the strikes that have been happening. And they are being led by bold, fearless women. And the other side is not going to make this easy for us, right? I think about, the legendary labor leader, Mary Harris, Mother Jones. She organized mine workers, fought against child labor. She didn't take crap from anyone. And a politician once told her, you're the most dangerous woman in America. And she wore that as a badge of honor. Well, everyone on this call should be wearing this as a badge of honor, as the most dangerous women in America, because we are winning. And so the next few months, no matter what they throw at us, whether it's sexism, racism, they're going to call us childless cat ladies, which some of us have dogs, by the way, J.D. Vance. But when we hear that stuff, we know it means they're scared. They've got nothing. So let's go make history. Let's go make history. Let's make sure all this energy translates into votes. And you've heard it all night, but grab a bullhorn and be out in the front of the crowd, or get behind someone else to get them to that bullhorn, or everything in between. Phone phone bank, knock on doors, have the tough conversations with the people around you, and let's send our fearless woman leader, Kamala Harris, to the White House. 99 days to go. Let's make them count. Thank you.
Yes, let's make them count. I'm so excited to be with all of you tonight and to follow my sisters Liz and Vivette. My organization, Care in Action, is focused on mobilizing women of color voters and winning policies that support us to care for our families. And we are so proud to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris as our candidate for President of the United States. And together with all of our partners in Care Can't Wait Action, including the AFL-CIO, we plan to do everything we can to win this election. And there are lots of moms and caregivers of all ages and abilities that have joined tonight. And I just need you to know, if you have ever relied on care or provided care like all of us have, you have a true champion in Vice President Harris. When she says she's fighting for our freedoms, our families, and our future, she's talking about care, about lowering the cost of child care and aging and disability care, about paid family and medical leave, about good jobs for women working in the care economy and all over this economy. As senator, she was the lead sponsor for the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights. As vice president at the height of the COVID pandemic, she held town halls with caregivers, gathered women labor leaders to learn about the economic impact of COVID on women, and then she proceeded to fight for solutions, for historic investments in care, and she hasn't stopped fighting since. And it's not just in how she shows up for us. We know she understands the dignity of care work so deeply in her bones because it's her own life experience. It's in the love with which she talks about caring for her immigrant mother when she was sick, or how her neighbor, Miss Regina Shelton, cared for her as a little girl while her mom was at work. She has lived our stories. I'm in Georgia right now and just spent time with Jerry, a mother of 6 who's also caring for her dad with dementia at home, working incredibly hard, struggling to pay the bills, dreaming of a future where her kids have the support and freedom to realize their potential in life. And that is the promise of the Vice President's vision for our country. And it's why huge numbers of caregivers like Jerry are signing up to volunteer. Women, we are the heart and soul of this campaign. We are the strategy, and we have 99 days. And the bullies that we're up against, like Liz just said, they always underestimate women and our power. And it's time to show them what time it is. It's time to organize. It's time for action. Text women to 30330 and join us. Back to you, Rhonda.
Thank you, Liz and Ijen. We appreciate your partnership in all this.
So those were Ijen, and I didn't catch her last name, Care in Action, organizer for caregivers and women of color voters, and Liz Schuler, who was the president of the AFL-CIO.
Here's a fun fact.
So the next group of people are women legislators. Let's go back to the call. Fair use for educational and entertainment purposes only.
It's so great to be here. It's spectacular. It's spectacular that we're all here today. It's truly a marvel. And it's a movement. I think we've all felt it, starting from that Sunday afternoon 8 days ago when Kamala Harris stepped forward into the light after Joe Biden's historic decision to step down. There's been a joy, right? An enthusiasm and a cohesion to get Kamala Harris elected. And now here we are. What are we, 250,000 strong here today, unified in this one cause. And this enthusiasm and this activation that we've all been talking about, that we've all been feeling so profoundly, that's the part that I want us to focus on. We had no idea until that Sunday afternoon how hopeful and galvanized we could feel. Women and men of every ethnicity and every background, young people, guys, young people. Now, we have this refreshed and renewed curiosity and openness and hope. And this is what we women, all of us, knowing that when you want to get shit done, just get us together, watch us ride, let us do our thing. We know that we united in our beautiful diversity can capitalize on this new availability of our people, our neighbors, our families, our communities, to understand what a powerful moment this is, to join together using this time, our voices, in standing up simply for what our values are, from the most personal and intimate to the most visionary and necessary for government, society, and democracy. And I personally do not believe this is a moment to get caught up in the mire of statistics and data points and polling, and certainly not the oppressive and destructive rhetoric of the opposing presidential candidate and his running mate and the division that they intend to create. No. This is the moment to ride this wave, this new wave of our new and clear-eyed leadership, vision, and inspiration via Kamala Harris. Because we know, all of us gathered here in the midst of our multitudes of difference, we know what we're capable of doing together. And there's nothing more powerful than the instinct, insight, and intelligence of a united group of diverse women. And isn't it interesting how the goal of getting Kamala elected can include all of us? It's joined us all together into this amazing unit. This imperative to get Kamala elected can embody all of our difference. Each one of us, unique, singular, down to the last chromosome, none like the other, and yet activated in this essential movement of unity for self, family, and country. So here we are, shoulder to shoulder, got our marching orders, time to get to work. We've got a job to do, y'all, and we've got each other's backs. So it's time to look long and hard at what you value most, what your family values, what you need, what your community needs, what's essential, and then get out into your community. Let them know that their values matter, their voices matter, and that they can be represented. Let them know we need Kamala and everybody down ballot that represents your values. This is a moment and a movement where we know that there's a possibility that this country can represent us, all of us, unified together. Let's harness this explosion of enthusiasm and power that can change the world. Share it with everyone you know, and let's ride the wave to victory, y'all. Thanks so much. Thanks everybody for being here. It's just incredible. Keep working and text women to 30330, right? That's the thing we're supposed to do, right? Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your powerful words and support, Connie. And that's right. This is a moment and it is a movement. And speaking of movements, we're about to hear from two women who use their voices, their influence, and their resources to organize women and folks all across their communities. So now I have the honor and the privilege of introducing Charlotte Clymer and Regina Montoya. I'll start with you, Charlotte, then over to Regina.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. I appreciate that. Good evening, folks. My name is Charlotte Clymer. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a writer and activist, and I am so excited to be part of this historic gathering of women across the country. Now, look, I'm not going to repeat to y'all what the brilliant and eloquent women have stated before me, and nor do I have the eloquence and brilliance of the women who are going to speak over the remainder of the evening. I'm just going to tell y'all a quick story about why I proudly support Vice President Harris. I'm a proud American, a proud Texan, a proud military veteran, a proud trans woman, and a proud Democrat. And I've found that there are some folks, including Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, who wants to place me in a specific box, just like they want to place all women in a specific box. They say I'm too queer to be a military veteran. They say a trans woman like me can't be a Christian and a strong person of faith as I am. They say women like me don't belong in America. Well, here's what I have to say to that. Thank goodness our leader, Vice President Kamala Harris, has common sense and believes no American, no human being belongs in a box. A little over 4 years ago, a number of right-wing extremists took a picture of me from a public event and attempted to harass me online. They wanted me to be ashamed of how I look as a trans woman. Now, just like the women I admire, women like my grandmother, women like Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in Texas, women like Vice President Harris, am I going to give these set of insecure people that kind of power over me? No. I don't have time for that. I love how I look. I know I'm beautiful. So I wrote a thread explaining that, and I offered an open hope that these sad and insecure people will someday have the kind of peace and comfort in their own skin that I have in mine. One of the first public figures to respond to that thread was then Senator Kamala Harris. She gave me support. She gave me encouragement. She made me feel seen. And in that moment, she sent a clear message that supporting her means supporting the basic concept that all of us are worthy to be who we are authentically. I want to be clear, there were no incentives for her to do this. I endorsed her, I hadn't talked with her campaign. It wasn't like she was going to fundraise off of something like this. She did it because Vice President Harris is the kind of leader who fights for every American. She fights for the military veteran who comes back from war with horrific wounds. She fights for the woman turned away from life-saving abortion access. She fights for the public school teacher who's overworked and underpaid. She fights for every child, every senior, every single American. She fights for all of us. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are going to throw everything they got at her. Every cruel remark, every disgusting and racist and sexist trope, every bit of vile, they're going to find out the hard way that it's just not enough. And why is that? Because we have a clear strategy here. All we have to do is follow the example of Vice President Harris. She is a leader who builds bridges, who invites tough conversations, who brings people in to the movement, and who always embraces discomfort as a gift. If we follow her example, if we make every phone call, if we knock on every door, if we invite tough conversations with our friends and family and neighbors who are on the fence in this election, I guarantee you on everything I hold dear that Kamala Harris will be the 48th president of the United States. Thank God this is our leader. Let's follow her example. Let's go win this thing. Text women to 30330. Thanks so much, y'all. All right, back to you, Ms. Fox.
Thank you. And now over to you, Regina.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. And what a pleasure to be with so many of my hermanas, my sisters. It is such a joyous evening tonight. And when I think of joy, I think of those on whose shoulders I stand on, and I think of all of us who have had people paving the way for us, making sure we have the opportunities. For me, one of those people was my mamacita, my mother, who taught me that it was so important to remember that we do stand on the shoulders of giants and that we have to give back and that we can't forget where we come from. And when I think of that kind of advice, I always have to think of the incredible Vice President Kamala Harris, because she embodies that. She embodies the American dream. She talks about how important it is to remember those that have come before, and she talks about her mom, being the daughter of immigrants, making that experience and understanding what we are feeling as Americans, as Latinas in the United States. It's so important. And one of the things that I think we really have to keep remembering too is that she has this extraordinary American dream story being the district attorney, the California attorney general, our vice president, a U.S. senator, and now the next president of the United States. And then not only do I think of my mom, who was this teacher, and would have said to me, my late mom, that and so excited about all of the teachers and educators who are on this call, energized by this campaign because of Vice President Kamala Harris and her promise to protect our public education. The Vice President was in Texas recently, and I am at the HANA, just like Charlotte, and her promise that she said that when she put it best, when she said, we want to ban assault weapons and they want to ban books. Well, I can tell you right now, my mom is cheering the Vice President from heaven. Now, another great woman who had an incredible impact on my life and who I had the privilege to clerk for was the legendary Judge Sarah T. Hughes, one of the first women federal judges in the country. Roe v. Wade was a case heard in Dallas, where I am, and Judge Hughes was one of the 3 district judges who all voted in favor of the plaintiff. As you know, that decision was overturned by the Court of Appeals, but the Supreme Court reinstated the district court opinion in that landmark ruling. Judge Hughes was the only woman involved in the entire process, and she was the flashpoint, just like we're hearing right now in situations where the woman is the one who is the flashpoint and has all of the kinds of verbal abuse that we hear. She endured a lot of verbal abuse, but she never backed down. She was an incredible supporter of the women's rights, from the ability to serve on juries, to get credit in their own name, to serve on corporate boards, and to rise to the highest levels of politics, as Vice President Harris is going to do. Between my mom and Judge Hughes, I learned that if you believe in something, you have to fight for it. You must give of your time. You must give of your resources. If you don't, then you are letting others decide what is right for you. Now we have the perfect candidate who will represent us so well as president. Vice President Harris is fighting for a future that protects reproductive rights and ensures every person has that ability to live the American dream. This is your call for action. Do it for Judge Hughes, who gave her all for Roe v. Wade. In her wildest nightmares, she would have never thought that Roe v. Wade would have been overturned 50 years after she ruled on it. So, text women to 30330 # to connect with Harris for president, and let's get to work. Now is the time. Es tiempo a hacerlo.
Es tiempo a hacerlo for my fellow Texans.
Inspire us all. At this moment, I want to take a minute to just speak from my heart. On behalf of all of us here at Harris for President HQ, I want to thank you for reminding us how fearless, how courageous, and just plainly put, how good of a person our boss is. We are proud and
so
we are
that is, we're coming up on the end of the call. So thank you. I know this has been a rather long call, so thank you for joining the live. You are part of the replay game, and they allowed us to stay up. Please support the work we do here. We cover news primarily, hence the reason we were able to make sure we get a spot in this live and be able to share the information with you. So fair use, and we're going to go back to the Women for Harris National Organizing Call.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Rhonda. I want to welcome you to my office in Harlem. I also want to give you a personal snapshot, I'm probably oversharing, of this Korean American for Kamala. In 1976, I came to America with my parents and 2 sisters from South Korea, and I was 7 years old. Our immigration was sponsored by my Uncle John, who came to Missouri in the 1950s to study history, and they later found work at IBM. Our path to American citizenship began at a small college in Warrensburg, Missouri, who invited Uncle John to study there. So I'm the middle of 3 girls. I'm the most well-adjusted, and all of us went to public schools in Elmhurst, Queens. And then later I went to the Bronx High School of Science, which is a school for super nerds. I studied history at Yale, and then I went to law school at Georgetown. I returned home to New York, and I got married at the age of 24, and I worked as a lawyer for 2 years, and then I became a full-time writer, which really means that I would just struggle for most of my life. My husband Chris and I have a son named Sam, who's 26 years old now. I want to tell you a little bit about my health. So in my early 30s, not long after we had our son, I developed a very serious liver disease, which was cured with a very costly experimental treatment, which was paid for by my husband's health insurance. And then unusually, I had very bad eye issues, so I had cataract surgery for both my eyes before I turned 50. And just this month, I've had 3 unexpected eye procedures, and this time they were paid through my union health insurance. Thank you, WGA. Everybody gets sick, and you don't know when. So in my writing career, I've published only 2 novels in the span of 30 years, and I'm working really hard on my 3rd novel right now, so I'm already late on it. So please don't tell my publisher that what I'm doing tonight, because I should be working on my book. When I teach at Amherst College, which is located in Western Massachusetts. As for my faith, on Sundays, I attend morning services at a Presbyterian church in New York City. My grandfather was a Presbyterian minister who cared for orphans in the war, and I was raised to believe that love conquers fear, that forgiveness is possible, and that every person is my sister and brother, and that we are sent to heal a broken world. So now, you know that this Asian American is somebody's granddaughter. I am somebody's niece. I am somebody's daughter. I am somebody's sister, somebody's wife, and somebody's mother, aunt, and I'm a former lawyer, and I'm a writer, and I'm a teacher, and I am your neighbor. And like you, I belong to somebody. And so I have to care about us. Our history, our immigration, our education, our environment, our safety, our jobs, our healthcare, our housing, our poverty, our reproductive freedoms, our religious tolerance, and good opportunities for the next generation. I have had the privilege of meeting Vice President Kamala Harris, and I even had the opportunity to spend time with the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, when we traveled together to Korea as part of the White House delegation. I trust Kamala Harris. She is a prosecutor, a state attorney general, which is really hard to do, a U.S. senator, and a vice president. She is a tested and a sober leader who is principled, self-controlled, and she is wise. Democracy is a word, but it's just another way of saying that you and I will gather together respectfully to care for each other and for the greater good. I appeal to you to organize voter drives, give generously, and volunteer to serve and lead your communities. Above all, I hope that you will feel the joy of belonging, because you and I, we belong together. Can you tell I don't speak in public often? So please vote for Kamala Harris in 2024 so we can protect and care for our flourishing American family. Thank you.
And thank you, Min. You truly move mountains through your voice and your words. And it's really hard not to get emotional in this moment. As you see, we've built a program tonight that's reflective of the rich diversity here within our campaign. So thank you. And I hope you all look here and you know that you have a place here at Harris for President. Now, I have the honor of introducing another coalition group for us. Now you're going to hear from Arlene Holt-Baker, the former AFL-CIO Executive Vice President. She's a key part of our Seniors Coalition. And Annika Crovey, National Chair of the High School Democrats of America. And she's a key part of our Youth Coalition. So let's go to you, Arlene, first, and then over to Annika.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here tonight with all of my sisters around this country. I join you tonight as a senior, and I'm a proud senior. I'm in my 8th decade. And as a senior, I am proud to support Kamala Harris for President of the United States because she shares my values. You see, I know what it means to engage in the fight for democracy, voting rights, union rights, and women's rights. I've been doing it for more than 50 years in my capacity as an activist, community organizer, and union leader. But this evening, I also come before you as a grandmother of 12-year-old twin granddaughters who are here because of the science of IVF. Kamala Harris supports IVF. I want my granddaughters and all in the younger generation to live in a democracy that has policies that support their freedoms, whether it be their freedom to choose, their right to join a union, their right to affordable health care, a clean environment, access to an affordable education, and certainly access to the ballot box. And I sure want them to have security when it comes to Social Security and Medicare when it comes their turn. My message to my fellow sister seniors is this. Familiarize yourself with Kamala Harris's policy positions. Choose a few policies that speak to you. Then reach out to the young women voters in your life. It may be a relative, the young woman you have mentored, the young woman who does your nails, or the young woman that helps you work the Zoom when you get frustrated. We all should know who the young voters and potential voters in our lives are. After getting to know young women, I often ask them what issues are important to you. After first listening and establishing shared interests, we make the connection to the ballot. Each must find opportunities to connect young people with Kamala Harris's policies. This election is not just about the enthusiasm we feel for Kamala Harris, and we are all enthusiastic, but it is about turning that enthusiasm into real votes and policies that make all our lives better from the cradle through this journey we call life. This election, sisters, is about us. The choice is in our hands. We can choose a future that is dark and dystopian and full of vengeance and vitriol that represents a dark past that is laid out in the Republican Project 2025. Or we can choose a future that is bright, joyful, equitable, full of hope, love, and care. Senior women, let's lock arms with our families, our neighbors, and young women voters. Let us work and vote for the future that we all deserve in this country. Let us all reach for the policy stars and fly into the future with Kamala Harris as our president. Let us not squander these 99 days that are left. Volunteer in any capacity that you can. Phone bank, knock on doors, you do what you do, young people and seniors. But I want you to text women to 30330 if you want
hospital, the staff told me that they were not doing that right now and told me to go home and wait. Ultimately, it took me weeks for me to pass my pregnancy at home alone. I was absolutely terrified, and this experience has made me see how Black women die at alarming rates in this country.
Caitlin, thank you so much for sharing. Amanda, would love to hear from you.
Thanks, Cami. Caitlin and I have been traveling the country for months campaigning for Vice President Harris. So this isn't the first time I've heard her story, but every time I hear it, I just get so mad. So I live next door in Texas. I live in Austin, and Texas has a similar cruel ban. And in the spring of 2022, my husband Josh and I were over the moon thrilled to find out that I was pregnant with our first baby. Then at 18 weeks, unfortunately, I suffered catastrophic complications. My cervix dilated prematurely, and there was no way to safely reverse course. So we were with 100% certainty going to lose our baby girl. And we were devastated. What I needed at that point was an abortion so I could safely begin the healing process. But unfortunately, this was after Texas, this was in Texas after Trump had overturned Roe. So ending the pregnancy would have been considered an illegal abortion, and my doctor would be at risk of jail time. So I was told that I had to wait until I got so sick that my life was considered in danger, which is one of the rare exceptions when a doctor can intervene in Texas. And that's exactly what happened. 3 days later, I crashed into septic shock. After delivering our baby, Willow, I crashed again with another bout of sepsis and was transferred to the ICU. I was in the ICU for 3 days. I was in the hospital for a total of a week. And my family flew in from across the country because they were afraid that I wasn't going to make it through the night. And it was when I was still in the hospital in that dark and lonely room when I realized I was actually lucky because I lived. And I knew that others might not be so lucky. And so that's why I started speaking out.
Wow. Thank you both so much for sharing. I feel like you speak for all of us on this call. So thank you for your bravery. I can't imagine what it takes out of you to share something like this, especially as deeply traumatic as it is over and over again. What compelled you to get involved in this campaign, and what keeps you going?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question, Cami. Because you're right, sharing these stories are not easy. In fact, I always say it gets harder every single time, but it couldn't be more important to share those stories, right? So after I shared my story publicly, I actually received hundreds of letters from women in Louisiana across the country, actually, who went through what I did. It's unacceptable in the United States of America in 2024, and we shouldn't be looking to force women to have babies or demand, while we were trying to demand access to basic health care, which is really what we're asking for. What keeps me going is Vice President Harris, though. I'll be honest about that. She's truly a champion for reproductive health care access. She is leading the Biden-Harris administration's response to the overturn of Roe v. Wade, including 3 executive orders to protect reproductive health care access. And she has traveled the country holding nearly 100 events, unheard of, on reproductive freedom, and it was the first vice president to visit a reproductive health care clinic not too long ago. Vice President Harris gives me hope, and I couldn't be more honored to campaign for her. Amanda?
As per usual, I could not agree with Caitlin more. She and I have both had the honor of meeting Vice President Harris, and I am so fired up to help get her elected. So Caitlin did an excellent job of speaking to what the Vice President has done, so I'll speak to the flip side of the coin, which is what motivates me, which is the threat of Donald Trump. Donald Trump celebrates abortion bans. He celebrates the ban that almost killed me. He calls them a beautiful thing. And he's made it so clear, if he gets back to the White House, he will ban abortion nationwide in all 50 states. He would not hesitate to sign a national abortion ban, but he also has plans that he's very clearly showed us as part of Project 2025 to ban abortion in all 50 states without the help of Congress. So that includes revoking the FDA's longstanding expert approval of medication abortion and resurrecting an ancient law from the 1800s to prosecute and jail healthcare providers for mailing medication abortion. So let me be clear. All of us in all 50 states face this threat. This is not hypothetical. I am not being hyperbolic. It is in their published plans. And no state from California to Michigan to New York could stop it. So what happened to me and Caitlin could happen to women in every single state across our nation if Trump gets reelected. So that's what keeps me going. We have to win this November because our lives depend on it.
Amen. Fully agreed and aligned. And what we saw in Iowa today is just that. So thank you both so much. Rhonda, I pass it back to you.
Thank you so very much for sharing your story. We're grateful for your bravery and for your advocacy. Okay, folks, we've been on the call for quite a bit. We have two more very important conversations. You're going to hear from women from the state house to the U.S. House that are going to get us all the way to the White House. Then you're going to hear from Chelsea Clinton, who's on the line. But before we do, I am thrilled to be joined by Ana Navarro, who spotlights every day why we must protect democracy.
The views and CNN's Ana Navarro, CNN political
down the ballot.
commentary.
Ana, over to you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for sharing your stories. You have inspired me. You have uplifted me. I feel better for having been on this call. Thank you for being so graceful, for having such elegance. But you know, somebody's got to go low. So I volunteer because I am sick of hearing Republicans and Trumpers talk about Kamala Harris the way they do. They can't.
Uh-oh. Okay, well, you know what that means. That means it's time to break out those phones. And it is time to text women to 30330. And it's also time to scan that QR code. And we're going to hang that up there for a second so that you can scan that code. And, you know, we've heard a lot about the issues at stake. We're going to hear about the absolute threat to our democracy once we get back on the phone. But the only way that we're going to be able to combat that, be positioned to win in November, is if you give 47 for 47. And again, that can be $4.70. It could be $47. It could be $470. We need you to give. And while we wait for Ana, I want to share one thing with you. Our path to victory, as Julie said, is our women and our men in our states. We have over 270 campaign offices between Harris for President and our coordinated committees. Those are all across the nation. And they're filled with over 1,200 staffers that are ready to elect Vice President Kamala Harris. So to keep our momentum going, to continue to empower our ground game, we need you to scan that QR code and give 47 for 47. So while we wait for Ana to get back on, because we definitely want to hear her go low, we're going to move over to our elected leaders. These are women from all around the country. They're fired up, like I said, from the state house to the U.S. House. I see Senator LaFonza Butler, so in the Senate, and they are committed to putting Kamala Harris in the White House. So now it is my distinct privilege and honor to introduce House Minority Leader Ventrice Driscoll from Florida, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan from Minnesota, U.S. Representative Lois Frankel from Florida, U.S. Representative Grace Ming from New York, and U.S. Representative Pramila Jayapal from Washington, and of course, U.S. Senator LaFonza Butler from California. Now, ladies, we're going to have a conversation. I'll call on you one by one, but why don't we start off with House Minority Leader Ventrice Driscoll.
Thank you. So, ladies, we've all seen Republicans take steps to take away our freedoms and suppress our stories, whether it's been about Black history or the LGBTQ community, or even our own ability to make the most intimate decisions of heart and home. And at a time like this, it's easy to wonder what the future holds, feel uncertain, or wonder what's next. At a time like this, I'm always also reminded of what Coretta Scott King once said.
She said that freedom is never really won. You must earn it and fight for it in every generation. So I will tell you what's next. We need to fight. We need to fight for today, and we need to fight for our future. Whether you're a baby boomer, you're a millennial, Gen X, Gen Z, let's go. It is time to fight and write a new story for our country. And our history informs us of what our future and this new story can potentially be. We know that women in our country have suffered many injustices. But through those same injustices, women have risen from the ashes like a phoenix. We have shown the world time and again that change is possible. Because when women come together, we make unbeatable teams. We make the impossible possible. And women do not rest on our laurels. We do not give up without a fight. As the first Black woman to lead either party in the Florida House of Representatives, I can tell you that I stand on the shoulders of incredible women. Women like State Senator Arthenia Joyner. Women like Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. Women like Vice President Kamala Harris. Every woman here today stands on the shoulders of our predecessors. They were the women who mowed down barriers that reduced us to a second-class status, and they were the women who quietly changed minds and raised children to know that every human deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. They marched, they voted, they spoke out, they made laws, and they made change. And this is exactly what we must do now. And I can tell you that as Democratic leader, I'm so personally grateful to Vice President Harris, who reached out shortly after we had our first abortion ban. Yes, I said our first abortion ban that went into effect, and it provided no exceptions for rape or incest. I have watched as she's become our nation's most trusted voice on this issue, which is impacting women all across the country. There's a 6-week ban that just went into effect in Iowa today. I can tell you also that in Florida, the energy has been amazing. Just this past weekend, there was a caravan of golf carts, over 500 golf carts in the villages in Florida. If you don't know the villages, look it up. It is a Republican stronghold. The enthusiasm is palpable. And I'll tell you that as someone who is responsible for winning down ballot races, having Vice President Harris, and with all gratitude to President Biden and for what he has done and what Vice President Harris did alongside him, but having Vice President Harris at the top of the ticket is the fresh energy that we need in Florida to help us win these races. This fall, we have Amendment 4 on the ballot, which would enshrine a woman's right to an abortion and protect it in our state's constitution. And having Vice President at the top of the ticket, being that trusted voice on this issue, having Amendment 4 on the ballot, having Democrats re-energized, having great candidates in these state house seats, I know that we can together accomplish great things. So let's write a new story. Let's help bring Vice President Kamala Harris across the finish line. Let's make her story, and let's make the change that helps our world to be a little safer, a little healthier, and a little more prosperous for everyone. And I know that we can do this because we will be doing it standing shoulder to shoulder as we fight for our freedom and as we fight for our future. And now I'll give it back to you. Thank you.
Okay, before we go on, we do have Anna back on the line. So I'm going to kick it over to Anna before we get back to our women elected leaders.
Lord, somebody must have cut me off from somewhere. But anyways,
I love
listen,
to say the same
you
thing.
all have been terrific. Thank you for being so uplifting and for having so much grace. But I think it's very important that we commit to defending Kamala Harris, because I know that there are many of us that regret not having defended Hillary Clinton in 2016. And we need to have learned our lessons. And it is ingrained in my brain, that energy that we had, that fear that we had the day after inauguration of 2017, when so many of us around the country, millions of women marched in protest against Donald Trump. And we were right to be afraid. And back then, we didn't know what was coming. Today, we know exactly what is coming. And it's going to be worse than the first Trump administration. Because all the adults in the room, Team Normal, that were with him that first time, are not going to be with him this second time. We already know what he is capable of. And so I want us to defend Kamala Harris when they bring up her dating history. Really? You support Donald Trump and you've got the gall to bring up anybody's dating history? Or when they call her a DEI ally and say she's gotten everything she's gotten and achieved everything she's achieved because of her gender or because of the color of her skin. Well, let me tell you who is a DEI hire. Just Dumb Vance is a DEI hire because he got a book deal and he got a movie deal and he got on cable TV because supposedly he was the hillbilly translator. And that was the diversity, equity, and inclusion that he benefited from. And let me tell you who got everything given to him. Donald J. Trump, who started life and his career with $1 million from his daddy. Kamala Harris got nothing from anybody. She's had to work very hard. And let me tell you about the qualifications. You know the people who say that Kamala Harris is not qualified to be president? You're going to tell me Kamala Harris is not qualified to be president, but you're supporting Donald Trump? Well, let me tell you about Donald Trump. 1991, the bankruptcy of the Taj Mahal. 1992, the bankruptcy of the Trump Castle Hotel and Casino. 1992, the bankruptcy of the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino. The 1992 bankruptcy of Plaza Hotel in New York City. 2004, bankruptcy of Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts. 2009, Trump Entertainment Resorts bankruptcy. You know the things that have failed of his? You want to know his failures? Trump Steaks, Trump Airlines, Trump Vodka, Trump Mortgage, Trump, the game, he had a board game, Trump Magazine, Trump University, Trump Ice, he had a water, Go Trump Calm, Trump Network, Trump Wine. Should we continue? You really want to have a conversation with me about Kamala Harris's lack of qualifications? A woman who went to law school, a woman who was a district attorney, a woman who was elected statewide to run the second largest justice department in this country, a woman who was elected in California statewide. And California is not like some of the other states, including my own, where they elect some dummies. California has given us some incredible senators. So whenever they bring up her lack of qualifications, I want us to fight back. I want us to be happy. I want us to remember all the mistakes from 2016, because I don't want us to have buyer's remorse the day after election day. I want us to think about what we can do every single day to help Kamala Harris get through the finish line. We can donate. We can go on her website and find out about her policies. We can look at social media, amplify things, amplify the TikToks, amplify the things that young people are doing. They're really funny, by the way. They're really fun. We can buy merchandise and wear it out and loud and proud. We can make sure we are registered to vote, because there's a bunch of states that have done shit and that have made it, that have taken people off the roll that may not even know. We've got to make sure we're registered and that everybody around us is registered. We can make phone calls. We can sign up to volunteer on the website. There are 1,000 things that we can do. And let me tell you a little bit about my girl, Tom, because until she is president, I'm going to call her my girl, and then I'm going to call her Madam President. Kamala Harris, when I first met her 6 or 7 years ago, that woman is smart. And they tried to make her out to look dumb. Well, she's not dumb. She is an eloquent, inquisitive, intellectual giant who cares about policy, and she cares about people. Because you see, they're not mutually exclusive. You can care about policy and care about people. And she does both. Because invariably, whomever is president of this country is going to be called upon to embrace us in times of crisis, in times of need, in times of national sadness. And I can tell you, Donald Trump does not know how to give anybody love other than himself. We need Kamala Harris to show that kind of empathy and that kind of love for country. So I am excited to be here. I want us to be happy. I want us to march with joy and sass and rhythm to the voting booth, so that we don't have to march and protest afterwards. I want us to share our joy, to show it. It's enthusiasm, it's contagion. It is great. I want us to be proud of Kamala Harris, but I want us to back people down who lie about her, who malign her, who bring out personal stuff, who don't look at the mirror and don't look at the defects they have, because I'm not putting up with it, not in 2024. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for that. And now we're going to give back to our elected leaders. Thank you, Minority Leader Driscoll. And now we're going to go to Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan.
Well, I am fired up to follow that. Ana Navarro, what a gift you are to all of us. Well, Buju, Peggy Flanagan, Indigenous Kaz, Gijueva Damakwe, Indigo, Guabagag, and Cognin Jumchaba, Mangan Nadim. My name is Peggy Flanagan. My English name is Peggy Flanagan. My Ojibwe name is Speaks with a Loud and Clear Voice Woman. I'm a member of the White Earth Nation, and my family is the Wolf Clan. And the role of the Wolf Clan is to ensure that we are not leaving anyone behind. And I can tell you, we will absolutely not leave Kamala Harris behind. And I hope y'all are ready for that. Like so many Americans, my family is not the typical nuclear family. And I guess according to J.D. Vance, my husband is like a childless cat lady. He is, in fact, the best stepdad in town. You know, we love Joe Biden in our household. And so last Sunday, my daughter called me and she was afraid. And she said, Mom, Joe Biden dropped out. What are we going to do? And I was able to tell her, my girl, Kamala Harris is running for president of the United States of America. And she said, oh, we're going to be fine. So I want to tell you, we are going to be fine. As a second in command, I know that my number one job is to be ready. And I'm glad that America finally knows what all of our second in commands have known. Kamala Harris is ready. Last Monday, I had the honor of being the very first surrogate at a Harris for President event in Arizona. It was Native voters for Harris. It was packed, it was hot, and people were fired up. And let me tell you, not only is Kamala Harris ready, but America is ready for Kamala Harris. I'm the highest ranking Native woman in executive office, and I am also the chair of the Democratic Lieutenant Governors Association. If you're not familiar with us, you should become familiar with us because we are the most diverse group of elected officials in the country, and we are the bench of the party. In this role, I also get to see firsthand what kind of impact the White House has on governing in our states. I was first elected to this role in 2018, so I have governed under Trump, and I have governed under Biden-Harris. There is a big difference. Under Trump, the state had to fight each other for PPE during the pandemic like it was like Mad Max, but with less great fashion. And under the Biden-Harris administration, the president calls Minnesota to offer support for flood management and recovery. Trump and the Biden-Harris administration are not the same. It makes a world of difference to have an administration that is ready to be a partner, a leader who cares about the many instead of just one. Just look at their tax priorities, a poverty-slashing child tax credit or tax cuts for millionaires. That is the choice that we have right in front of us, cruelty or care. Forcing people to bring unwanted pregnancies to term or reproductive freedom and body sovereignty. Weirdos or badass women. I will choose badass women every single time. And I had to use that, get one weird in for Governor Tim Walz. But when I saw her this spring, Vice President Harris grabbed my shoulders and she looked me right in the face and she said, I want you to know I have your back. And that meant everything to me. Now it is time that we have Vice President Kamala Harris back. Whether it's our partners at the DLGA, my friends in the Minnesota legislature, or our local elected leaders, we are getting out there to ensure that we win elections up and down the ballot and that Kamala Harris is our next president. We are raising money, we are knocking on doors, we are making phone calls, we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that we can say, Madam President. Let's make sure that we have the first woman elected president of the United States of America. Please sign up for something in your community, y'all. It is so easy. If you're an elected official on this call, please make sure that you are getting in touch with the surrogate program. It is all hands on deck. We need everybody at this party. Before I hop off, though, I want to just give one special shout out to the campaign staff. Y'all have been through it, and you have done it with grace and continue to show up over and over and over again, and we appreciate you so very, very much. Thank you for everything that you have done, and thank you for everything that you will do in the next 98 days to ensure that Kamala Harris is the next president of the United States. Jimmy Butch, everybody. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much. And now we'll go over to Congresswoman Grace Mead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Tonight, we are gathered in each other's homes and personal spaces, having an honest and necessary family conversation. We are together writing the story of America, a story where women haven't always been able to share our contributions. Earlier today, I happened to hear the fight song, a song that I still cannot listen to without my eyes welling up with tears. Many of us remember as we were together as we tried to elect the first woman president in Hillary Clinton. We were not successful, but yet we banded together and continued to fight together in the 4 years that followed. And then we fought again to save our country and shared communities in 2020. And now we are back. We will fight once again to protect the progress that we made together with the Biden-Harris administration. And we will work to stop Trump's Project 2025. Who do you trust to fight for us? Who do you trust to protect our freedoms? The choice is clear. It's Kamala Harris. Thank you, President Biden, for your vision to partner with Kamala Harris. And she is working hard to earn her nomination and to win this election. And victory in November will be won in rooms like these. But this time, it's not enough just to do it at the doors and phones of strangers. It will have to be living room by living room, through our text chains with family members and friends, through our conversations at our schools, salons, supermarkets, senior centers. But we have to do it. We have no choice. On behalf of a generation of communities and women who have been bullied by Donald Trump, we must win this election. As we continue to write our nation's story, we are the ones who will determine its direction. The story and fight continues, and there is no one else I'd rather do this with than all of you. Let's win.
Thank you. And thank you so very much, Congresswoman Ming. Now we'll go to Congresswoman Lois Frankel.
Good evening, everyone. So great to be with you all, my colleagues. I'm Lois Frankel, a member of Congress from Palm Beach County, Florida. Yes, that's the home of Mar-a-Lago. I'm the chair of the Congressional Democratic Women's Caucus. Many who have joined us tonight, I'm giving them a shout out. And what an amazing turnout tonight. Last week, the members of our caucus came together to endorse our vice president for president. And the women in Congress, we come from all walks of life. We bring the experience of mothers and grandmothers and daughters to the halls of Congress. And many of our group have known the vice president for many years. And they'll tell you she's smart, she's compassionate, she's battle tested. And we know that the stakes of this election are without precedent. Our democracy and our freedom is on the line. And how blessed are we that our beloved president, Joe Biden, has handed the torch to the vice president, who's an experienced leader we need at this moment in history, to be our champion, to reject extremism, and to build a future worthy of all our children. The Democratic women of the House, like you, are proudly supporting Harris for president because we know There's so many of the issues that we fight for every day, like affordable child and elder care, paid family leave, economic opportunity so women can support their families, and most important, reproductive freedom. It won't happen unless we elect Harris, our next president, along with a Democratic Congress. And tonight we heard about Donald Trump's extreme Project 2025 agenda, including a nationwide abortion ban. More than 1 in 3 women in this country now live under an abortion ban because of Donald Trump's appointment to the Supreme Court that overturned Roe v. Wade. That's left women with miscarriages bleeding out in parking lots and thousands of rape victims with forced pregnancies. We know that people want the freedom to make their own personal health care decisions. I want to personally decide when and if to grow or start a family. It's a top priority for the women of Congress to pass what we call the Women's Health Protection Act, a proposed law that will ensure there is access to legal abortion in every zip code in our country. And we know that President Harris will champion and sign it. And as to organizing, no, we are committed, the Democratic members of Congress, both fundraising and organizing, and we are offering for you to be surrogates for your Zoom and in person when possible. We'll coordinate that with the Harris campaign. We are really at a point where we have a choice between two different visions. A vision of hope, a vision of freedom, a vision against hatred, or a vision of hatred and dismantling our future. Let's win this one and let's make history.
All right, now we are almost to the end of our program. I'm going to introduce 2 women of Congress, and then Senator Butler will introduce Chelsea Clinton. So what we're going to do now is go over to Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, then to Senator Butler, then to Chelsea Clinton. Thank you for staying with us tonight. Over to you, Congresswoman.
Thank you so much. This enthusiasm and momentum on this call is incredible, and it's not just here on the call, it is everywhere. I had the honor of being a surrogate for the Harris campaign in Georgia on Friday, campaigning to make sure that Kamala Harris is elected president of the United States. And the energy with young voters, Georgia voters, was just off the charts. And I know you all are feeling it too. That is because women across this country are seeing themselves in Kamala and her historic candidacy. And we are ready to be seen, to be heard, and to do everything that we can to make sure we all win when we elect our first ever Black South Asian woman to the White House. I know that I see myself in her. I was born in India, and I came to the United States at 16 years old by myself. It took me 17 years of navigating our broken immigration system to get my citizenship. And in my first term in Congress, I spoke out about being one of the 1 in 4 women across this country who has had an abortion. Kamala Harris has been an incredible leader and partner on so many of these issues that matter. Kamala and I were elected on the same night that Donald Trump got elected. She and I both becoming the first South Asian American women elected to our respective chambers in the House and the Senate. And I was so proud to work closely with her on legislation that we co-led to introduce the Access to Counsel Act to fight back against Trump's Muslim ban, then introducing the National Domestic Workers Bill of Rights together, and fighting for the investments in paid leave and the care economy in the Biden-Harris Build Back Better agenda. She is an incredible spokesperson for us on abortion and reproductive justice, and she is absolutely going to lead the way on all of those issues when she gets elected president. And yes, the contrast is so clear. And just, picking up on Anna Navarro's little diatribe there that we all love, the stakes are so high. Donald Trump is an incoherent, rambling, convicted felon who incited an insurrection and has already stripped rights and freedoms from us and will do so again if he is back in power, as he and J.D. Vance have clearly outlined in the horrific Trump Project 2025 agenda. It is only Kamala Harris that has taken on big banks, big oil, big pharma, and convicted felons, and she will do it all again to protect our democracy, expand our freedoms, save our planet, and implement an economic agenda that values all of us for who we are, lifts up all people, all women, including working women and poor women of every single race, ethnicity, immigration status, and income level across this country. And so what she needs now is you, every single one of you, to do the organizing work to make it happen. And we, women in Congress, are ready to help you. So if you are ready, text women to 30330 to get connected to the campaign, and let's get to work. Because right now, we are fighting for our freedoms. And with President Kamala Harris, we will win our freedoms. Let's get this done. And thank you all so much for all the energy and all the work.
Rhonda, I'm just gonna jump in. There has been, you've been, working hard all night doing these transitions and trying to make sure that we were organized. Thank you for all that you've been doing to make this call happen. Congresswoman Jayapal, I remember that November night in 2016, the sort of disconnected feelings of being incredibly excited for the history that you two were making. I was standing on a stage in Los Angeles watching the vice president when she was elected to the U.S. Senate in California. And it was definitely a feeling of disconnection, the reality that we were about to walk into. I wanted to start my time a little bit different. Yes, I am the United States Senator from the state of California, only the third Black woman to ever serve in the chamber, and it is on the shoulders of Carol Mosley Braun and one Kamala D. Harris that I am in this chamber. And tonight you have all heard, the hundreds of thousands of you who have joined, have heard how just incredibly smart she is and how thoughtful she is relative to policy, how curious she is about her colleagues and the people who are around her. I want to spend my time offering a little bit to you about not the policy that she advocates and will advocate on behalf of when she becomes president. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the person that I know her to be. I have known the vice president since 2009, when she was running to become Attorney General in the state of California. At the time, I was a labor leader. I led our state's largest union, and she had not yet been endorsed by a union in Southern California. And she came and talked with the members of the union that I led, a union of caregivers, home care workers and nursing home workers, women and men who provided care to seniors and people living with disabilities. And one thing that we always did at our union was when you were an elected official and you wanted our union members' endorsement, you had to walk a day in their shoes. You had to come and do the job that they did. And the vice president actually did the job of a home care worker in Oakland. And she talks about this story in her second book. But she talked about spending time in the home of Cindy in Oakland, the care with which she provided care for her client, who was a person living with disabilities, and it was the vice president in her uniform, in her decked out stilettos and suit and pearls, and she rolled up her sleeves and she took off her jacket and she got in there and she helped to provide care to someone who needed it. That's the Kamala Harris that I know. That's the vice president that we have helped to be such a capable and strong partner to Joe Biden. When in 2019 there was a Kaiser strike. Kaiser, for those of you who don't know, is a significantly large healthcare provider. in the state of California. In 2019, those healthcare workers were going on strike. And she would often turn to me and want to talk with me about labor policy and questions that were coming into her about taking different labor positions. And you would imagine that there would be some politicians, and I am choosing that word on purpose, that there would be some politicians who would want to stay as far away from a strike as they could, particularly when they were running for office. The first question she asked me was not who's come out to endorse what side. She didn't ask me, well, what is it that the workers are asking for? She asked me, LaFonza, well, what time do they wake up in the morning? What do they have to do to get ready for work? How long have they been at the negotiating table? It is not the policy or the words on the page that inspires her public service. It is the people to whom she is called to serve. And so as you think about, as we roll into the next 98 days, 99 days, who cares how many days, because it is always not just the day of the election, but the day that ballots are mailed, and frankly, the day after the election, that this group of women has to be united and connected in order to do exactly what Ana Navarro said, have her back. Not just sometimes, but all the time. When she was running for the United States Senate, Congresswoman Jayapal, I went over to her campaign office probably 2 days after. And it was a tough, emotional ride to be on. And I went over to talk with her and check in on my friend. And we spent probably 30 minutes not talking about the election, not talking about what she was going to do, not talking about the sort of sadness of what America had just experienced. But we spent 30 minutes talking about purses and pupusas. And it was the best conversation. One of the fun attributes of who she is as a person. Yes, there are hard times. Yes, there are dark days. But when you choose to wrap your arms around the friends who have been in battle with you, who have walked the fire with you, when you choose to do it together, we can do hard things and have a good time. And that is what her smile is about. That is what her laugh is about. That is the joy that she brings to the hard work of working for the American people. On Sunday, when President Biden was an incredible example of leadership for all of us, an example of leadership that we all should one day hope to experience, that is being able to make a decision that is not about us, but that is bigger than us. I know I choose. I hope to be able to make a decision like that in my lifetime. As that was happening, I was talking to my 9-year-old daughter who has known the vice president her whole life. And I'm telling her what's happening, and I can see this look come on her face, like, well, what is happening? Sort of like the Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan said, are we going to be okay? And then I said to her, well, Ms. Kamala is going to run for president. And the first thing she said back with this huge smile and all of her braces showing was, will you ask Ms. Kamala if I can be her vice president? She's not. And I don't want her to be nobody's vice president today, but isn't it amazing that this is a woman who has inspired a generation of young people to not only believe in themselves, but to believe that they can do anything, that they can dream as big as their hearts would desire. That is the person that we have the opportunity to elect, who cares about the words on the page, but most importantly, are people whose lives are impacted by those words, who can have a conversation about purses and pupusas at the darkest days that we have faced as a country, but who chooses to do it with joy and wrapping her arms around people that she knows will be in the fight with us. A person who is, by her sheer presence, inspiring the next generation of leaders to come right behind her. She is leaving no one behind. Leader Driscoll, when you talked about Coretta Scott King, I have had the fortune of traveling the country with the Vice President. I have been on tour buses with her and Governor Newsom. We have been in cars, planes, trains, and automobiles. And it is, often she talks about Coretta Scott King as a source of inspiration. The one thing that that I remember her saying to me that I feel like is so appropriate for this call and for this moment that we're in was a quote that Coretta Scott King offered at the Poor People's March on Washington, where she stood on the Capitol steps and she said, "Women, if the soul of America is to be saved, I believe that you must be her soul." President Biden got into the race for president in 2019 and 2020 because he believed that the soul of America was at stake. He chose Vice President Harris to be his running mate because he believed that she could help to embody the hopes and the dreams, the fears and the aspirations of the American people and to carry them with her as she moved forward in her role as his partner. On Sunday, he chose to pass the baton to his partner to carry forward the fight for the soul of America. And so women, as Coretta Scott King advised us so many years ago, this is the moment that if we believe that the soul of America is to be saved, we women must be her soul. And we do that by having our hands at the back of this woman who is going to face incredible attacks. We do that by making sure that we are fighting with her, that we are defending her against all the attacks, that we, in all of the ways in which we believe, are praying for her wellness and her strength. And we do that by ensuring that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that this is not a moment of 2016 where our feelings are so disconnected, but that this is a moment where on the day after the election, we know early who has won. Because we left it all on the field, chose to do everything that we could. We are lifting America to her next level of greatness by electing Vice President Kamala Harris to be the president of this great country. And I am excited to be able to do all of that with all of you. There's a little boy who's watching tonight. My daughter has flipped out. She went to bed, she couldn't handle it. But her friend, Porter, is watching tonight. He always watches when I am presiding in the Senate. Porter, too, is 9 years old. And he always watches when I'm in the Senate. And I know he's watching right now because his mom told me. And Porter, I want you to know that these women on this call, the voices that you have heard all night, even when you went to go get in the shower, these women are dedicated to your future. They are committed to your success. Your dreams are their dreams and they carry them forward. You are going to be an amazing artist. These are the women that are going to choose in this moment to make all of that possible by rejecting those who would believe that your two moms don't deserve to have a family. They are going to do it tonight by rejecting those who would believe, Porter, that because you are a Black man, that you are by nature a danger to someone standing next to you. They are going to do it tonight, Porter, by rejecting all of the hateful feelings that are being levied towards you because of the color of your skin. It doesn't matter that you love Ruby Davis. I love her too. And Porter, this night is about making sure that you know that there are women across this country who stand arm in arm with your moms and are committed to making your future bright. There are women on this call who have been doing this work for a long time, and they are committed to your future. I have the opportunity, the honor of standing with all of you tonight, and I just want to join Lieutenant Governor Flanagan in appreciating the staff of the Biden-Harris campaign and now the Harris for President campaign. Having been in your situation before many times, it is tough. You have sleepless nights, you have thankless days, and I know that the people on this call thank you for the work that you all are continuing to do on behalf of this country. I'll stop my comments here and just quickly turn it over to the person who we all have been waiting 2 hours to hear from. It is with great pleasure. I have had the privilege of having the support of Secretary Hillary Clinton in my life and career as the president of Emily's List, as a senator appointed in the passing of Senator Dianne Feinstein. And she has called me and or texted me and at different moments given me great words of advice and wisdom. I have not yet had the pleasure of hearing the advice and the wisdom of our next guest who is going to close us out. I am excited about hearing what she has to offer. You know her as America's daughter. We all got to watch her grow up as her parents serve this great country. Different and more than just being America's daughter. She is a professor. She is an author. She is an accomplished public servant in her own right. And as I was preparing for tonight's introduction, I learned that her Secret Service code name was Energy. And so as we close out tonight, bringing us home, I want to introduce to all of you and welcome to the stage Chelsea Clinton, AKA Energy.
Oh, goodness. Well, Senator Butler, thank you for that overwhelmingly too generous, but thankfully energetic introduction. And I'm just so incredibly humbled and honored and have excitement in my heart and joy in my soul to be in community with all of you here tonight and over the next 99 days, and then hopefully all the days ahead in President Kamala Harris's administration. We certainly have heard tonight from an extraordinary group of women, both what is at stake in this election and also what is possible. And I have no doubt that Vice President Harris is uniquely positioned to both prosecute the case against Donald Trump for all of the unique dangers that he poses to our fundamental rights, the fundamental sustainability of our national security, and indeed the very idea of who and what it means to be an American. I think, though, equally true is that Vice President Kamala Harris is uniquely positioned to lead us into a more hopeful, equitable, sustainable, just, prosperous, and secure future. And I know that all of us on this call are ready, as we've heard over and over again, and we'll keep repeating because we will never tire. We will never be fatigued. We will never be dissuaded or discouraged that she is absolutely the person we need to elect come November. And for those of you who start voting early, come September. I believed women could win in 2016. I believed it with all of my heart. Congresswoman Ming, when you spoke about hearing the fight song, I also got a little bit teary just now. I am, though, thankfully at the point where I can listen to the whole song. There may have been a brief period of time where I had to just, turn it off or pause it and listen to it in segments. But now I can listen to the whole song because everything that I believed was possible and everything that I believed was right and good, and I knew in my marrow that we had to take Donald Trump both literally and seriously. I believe all of that even more fundamentally today. And unlike in 2016, Donald Trump is not theoretical. We now have a record that we can hold him to account for. And we have an extraordinary candidate in Vice President Harris. So while yes, I am excited for my daughter and sons, and I think it's equally important for my sons to be galvanized and inspired by this extraordinary woman, it is exactly because it is this extraordinary woman. It's not just any woman, it is this woman And how lucky are we that we get to spend close to the next 100 days talking about why she is absolutely the person that we need. Because no one deserves to live in a country like what we've put Amanda through right now. No one deserves to live in a country where it took Congresswoman Jayapal 18 years to navigate a broken immigration system. No one deserves to live in a country where we elect leaders who care only about themselves and maybe on occasion their very wealthy friends. We know exactly what we deserve as a country and exactly what Senator Butler's sweet 9-year-old Porter deserves for his future, what my children deserve, what all of our children deserve, and for what those of us without children deserve, those of us who just fundamentally believe in the promise and the premise of walking toward a more perfect union. That is not what Donald Trump represents, because that is not who he is, and that is not what he has shown himself to be. Not when he was in the Oval Office, and certainly not with Project 2025. And so I'm going to do everything that I can. I'm going to hold that fight song in my heart. I'm going to hold freedom in my heart, and I'm going to respond to every question. I'm going to try to preempt every question. I'm certainly going to have her back, and I'm so excited to hear not only the joy, but the just strong defense that we will have of this remarkable woman that I believe in my deepest soul we will elect as our next president. I'm asked a lot, even today, like, how do you get up in the morning? And I think, well, gosh, thankfully 2016 was a long time ago. I've had another child, I've written more books, I've taught more classes, I've gotten the opportunity to inspire more young people. But also, fundamentally, I am my mother's daughter, and she is still out here working and fighting and doing everything she can to support Vice President Harris to be our next president. And optimism is fundamentally a moral choice, and cynicism is the great resource for those who want to protect the status quo or drag us back into the dark, draconian days of yesteryear. I have no interest in going back. I have an interest in going forward, and I am going to be so proud to follow Vice President Harris into that future. Shirley Chisholm put a big crack in that glass ceiling. My mom put a few more cracks in that glass ceiling. And Vice President Harris is going to obliterate that glass ceiling, not Senator Butler early the next morning after the election, but decisively on the night. And we are going to make that happen. I have no doubt. I have full faith. I'm ready to go forward, and I'm so grateful to be in this extraordinary group, and so thankful. I want to add my voice to the chorus of recognizing Rhonda, and I see Adrian on the screen too, and just the extraordinary staff of the Biden-Harris and now the Harris for President campaign. Having been in a lot of campaigns, the work that Senator Butler said was full of thankless days and sleepless nights, is full of a lot of anxiety and hope, but clear-eyed purpose. So we are thankful to you. We stand shoulder to shoulder with you, and we are so thankful to follow and be led by Vice President Harris as we make her the first woman president of the United States of America. And Adrian, with that, I'm very happy to hold hands, but prefer to go floor over to you.
Oh my gosh, Chelsea, I'm literally I have to say, I'm a little teary-eyed right now, because Chelsea and I did 2008, Hillary's campaign in 2008. We did, obviously, 2016 together. And this really does feel like a full circle moment. It's just incredible. And to see so much excitement coalesce around the vice president, no surprise, of course, but just to see where we are. We're 99 days out from the election. You've heard from so many amazing speakers tonight. I'm not going to belabor you. I'm sure everybody wants to go to bed or wants to go maybe have a glass of wine, which I intend to do when this is over. But just a couple quick things. Adrian Elrod, senior advisor, senior spokesperson for the Harris campaign. I want to end on a really quick note. You all know what to say, what the message is. But our top 3 points that we are driving on this campaign, first and foremost, prosecutor versus felon. I won't go into why that's one of our top umbrella messages. You all know exactly what to say there. Future versus past. And most importantly, for I think the majority of people on this call, repro. I think it's so important for all of you. You know, there are storytellers on this call who have giant networks when they go out on their social media accounts, millions and millions of people see what they say. But there's also people like my parents' friends down the street, my neighbors in Washington D.C., my childhood girlfriends who I grew up with in Arkansas, who don't have major platforms but who have a major impact on the people in their lives that they speak to every single day. You got to tell your stories. There is a very large network of people right now who are very open, who are very undecided, who can be persuaded. But they are persuaded when people like all of you talk to them in human terms, talk to them about what's at stake, talk to them, what is Project 2025, but what's really in Project 2025? Why are reproductive rights at stake even more so if Trump sets one more foot back in that White House? You all are the ones who can do the storytelling to your own communities. That's so critically important. That's the message I wanted to end on this call with for all of you tonight, to just, tell the story to your networks. We've got talking points. You all know how to reach us. We can give them to you. But I want you guys to really dig deep and think about what's at stake in your own lives. What's the storytelling you can give to your own communities? And how can you really help us get over the finish line in a way that is authentic to you and in a way that's going to resonate with people in your community. So Rhonda, thank you. Chels, it's been great to be on this call with you. Everyone, all the speakers, thank you all so much. It's been quite a month, but we are 99 days from the election, 98 days tomorrow morning. We've got a lot of work to do, but man, I have never felt more excited about where we are and the way we're going to transform this country. So I just want to thank all of you so much.
Just over 100 days stand between us and a fundamental choice about the future of the United States of America. So if we want to live up to the promise of America, the promise of freedom, opportunity, and justice, then we have to organize. Your enthusiasm and grassroots support have made history. That is why we are keeping.
I know I normally do not have the privilege and pleasure of having your company for this amount of time, but I know for a lot of people, we tried to get the link. Some of us tried to sign up. We couldn't make it. So if I was able to, and we didn't get I was definitely going to be able to stream the audio. So thank you again for joining me for live coverage of the Women for Harris organizing call. We had a lot of speakers, everyone from the leader of the AFL-CIO to women who have experienced undescribable tragedies in pregnancy loss, to HRC, Hillary Clinton staffers from 2016, reminding the women on the call about the potential heartache and setback that we would experience like we did in January 20th of 2017. So again, thank you for everyone who joined the call today. Please share the live if anybody that would like to. Thank you so much, family, for pulling up and rocking with me tonight. I appreciate you. I just, like I said, I wanted to hear it. I didn't get a chance to make any of the calls earlier in the week. And so when I saw this one coming up and it got moved, I was like, okay, I know I'll be home Monday night. I'm going to hop on the call. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be on the call listening to everybody. Maybe somebody was supposed to listen with me. So, and I know some people, I had some cousins who said they tried to sign up for the link and they couldn't get in. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be up, hop on the live and, if y'all want to hear the call. So thank you, family. Y'all be safe. I'm going to let y'all get out of here, and I will see you later on in the week. And if there are any more events, I will be looking out for them. I will sign up for them, and we'll be back together to see what they say. All right, y'all be safe.